Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
The Catchalorette and friends want to acknowledge that this podcast is recorded and edited on the stolen lands of the Kaurna and Peramunk peoples. We wish to pay and give respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, past, present and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
The Catchalorette and friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my.
Oh no! The Catchalorette and friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
Hello and welcome to the Catchalorette and friends. I'm Carla Anita Matiazzo. And today's episode is with Jay Chasland, a.k.a. Leather Lungs.
Kia ora. We're already laughing. It's a great start.
I'm actually crying. Okay, we need to breathe and channel whatever the fuck this is. What was your first crush?
David Bowie in the Labyrinth because of the pants. I remember being confused by the pants, loving the pants. Also, the fact that he had, I can't remember what it's called, I was going to say high crochet, but it's not high crochet, the different coloured eyes.
Oh, yeah,
and I remember
right.
thinking he could see through my soul, and I wanted to be Sarah. I wanted to just rip my white dress and go for it. And then I was like, wait, this is wrong. Not much has changed.
Not much has changed.
The power of the button. And Muttley, clearly.
Clearly. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Were there any people in real life as a young human being that you had a crush on, and did anything eventuate from there?
Ooh, depends how young we're talking. I was definitely in love with my maths teacher at high school.
Okay, how did you know you were in love with your maths teacher? Because maths teachers are boring as fuck.
I hated math, and I
Yeah,
would go
so
to the
do
back.
I.
We had these books that you go to the back and cheat.
Yeah.
So suddenly my maths grades were really good. Come, exam time was a bit different. But he was just so lovely. He was really gentle. He was very handsome. I think he was some sort of European. He had dark hair, dark eyes. And I think it really started my fixation on that being my type almost.
Yeah,
and he was
right.
just the sweetest man, and he was always softly spoken. His name was Mr. Grace. If you're listening, I'm so sorry. He was also the agriculture teacher, and I was a farm boy, so there was that
Okay.
and he did the school musicals with us.
Oh, right. Okay, so he wasn't just a maths teacher.
No, but also he would share the dressing rooms with us. So when you're doing the High School Musical and thing. And I was like, oh my God, I just saw Mr. Grace's wee wee. So
But that can't happen anymore.
Oh, no. And it was completely innocent, because lots of the teachers would get involved and they'd be the soldier, if you
yeah,
will,
sure.
Or they'd be the Cockney man and we would do my filet, and, just stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it was
sure.
completely innocent.
Yeah.
It was just, I was like,
In the
I have
corner.
often walked down the street before.
So obviously nothing happened with the maths teacher. Was there anything close or anyone in your sphere that you had unrequited love for?
Unrequired, Mr. Grace. But no, I mean, my school bully became my first kiss.
Let's walk through that, shall we? How did that happen?
So in New Zealand, I don't know about Australia, but I was brought up on a country town, and you always said, do what I say, I'll give you the bash. Give you the bash. And also,
That's so aggressive.
I've tried to mute my accent a little bit these days.
Please don't.
Not through internalized racism or anything. It's just the fact that I live in Australia and people don't really understand me completely. and sometimes I'll talk like that stuff. I'll talk to my family. But growing up, also to be a bit harder, I did sort of really put on my sort of cultural accent a bit more, I guess. And also because I was very white looking, even though I wasn't white necessarily.
Yes.
But what was the question? Oh, yeah. I was going to say his name. And his full name is, and he lives there. And then one day we were so we had these 2 desks in the corner next to the curtain, next to where the class computer was.
Sure.
And we were playing, I think it was like this game like Gustap, or you kill people, whatever. And he was like, you better get off or I'll give you the bash, And then you'd say, oh, want a bash, bro, if you don't listen to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, please, don't bash me. And then he was like, want a bash. And I was like, what'd you say? And he was like, yeah, you better meet me down the end of the driveway at the water pump shed. And I was like, because so at the end of my farm, the end of my driveway, so country kids, you're driving like, 5 to 10 Ks away. He was the next farm over, which was only a 10, 20-minute bike ride.
Yeah.
I got off my stop, then he would get off his, and then he biked back. And he was like, by the time, you better be there. So I went home, had my oranges after school, my noodles. Thought I better get up my potassium and get some carbs into me. Went back down the drive and we had a water pump shed. It had old pipes in there and, obviously pumping water. And then, he goes, you better meet me or you'll get the bash. You're going to bash me or you bash me. And then I remember he just pushed me against the wall and just kissed me. And I was like, oh, this is so gross. Like, why do people do this? And it was like full tongue. And I'm just like not doing anything back. And he was a year or so older than me, but we're both, underage. So it was...
How old were you?
11, 12.
Yep, sure.
Then he said, okay, we're going to try it this way. And then gently, he was quite nice about it. He put his jumper under my head. This is going to sit... Don't go that far, don't worry. And then he lied on top of me and then kissed me that way. And I was like, oh, this feels a bit better. And then we just, we became best friends from that because he protected me from the other kids that maybe wanted to bash me. And then we'd play wrestling and, yeah.
Oh,
so it was quite, in a weird way, it was, I wouldn't say cathartic, but
so
I think that was his projection, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. So what happened in your love life after that boy who wanted to bash you then bashed you?
Stayed the same. I can laugh at it now. I think, and in some ways, in the last year, especially for me, I've had a lot of therapy and reflection on maybe why my relationships have gone similar ways.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have... to interject in that, I had an amazing upbringing, my parents still date. They married, obviously, but they still go on dates. They have a really healthy relationship. They've never argued in front of us. They disagree, but I would never say that they're like, you son of a... I'm gonna go here.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, definitely none of that. Or if it's behind, it's like, your dad's been a prick today, isn't he? God, he's such a stubborn asshole. But that's wholesome, It's like, I know, dad's so frustrated because dad doesn't, So I think that's healthy, that's normal.
Yeah.
But to interject with that, I think in some ways too, in talking to my therapist, because they had such a healthy, amazing relationship, it sort of ruined my idea of what a relationship could be because it feels unattainable almost.
I see.
To put the fact on that, quite at a young age, 11, 12, that my bully became my first sort of, I almost want to say love. Because I did, feel a love for him. I don't know what that was. I was 11, 12,
Yeah.
And I was quite a naive kid. Probably still am in some ways. So, yeah, I feel like that really has played out through my self-worth, I guess.
It's interesting that you mentioned self-worth because I feel like only just now through therapy, like you were saying, I'm working out that my self-worth, self-esteem has really contributed to attracting certain patterns within a relationship. Yeah, and I guess you and I have spoken about how we're the same but in different bodies.
Or the same body at different times. It's like Adele and Sam Smith. Are we the same?
Are we? Are we the same?
Hello.
Yeah. I think, it's really... And I've actually worked out that... So I don't have a relationship with my mum. We haven't got to that story yet between our friendship. But, I don't have a relationship with my mum. So, but I've realised now, post that relationship breaking down, what in some sense... the molding and what the early years for me was with a narcissistic parent.
Wow.
What that looked. Now I understand it. Back then I was like, I don't understand why, like, sometimes we have arguments and I'm pushed to a point where I'm not myself in the argument and and I'm behaving in a way that is not like me. And there was definitely a lot of gaslighting, definitely a lot of that stuff. And then I was like, that's why I've attracted these kind of patterns in my life. Yeah.
So I didn't even know narcissistic parents existed until recently because of, going what I went through, and then I was sort of looking into other things, and that was something else that came up. It was like, narcissists, narcissistic parents are very different to, being in a relationship with a narcissist, if that makes sense. It's a very different kind of narcissistic abuse. And I don't think a lot of narcissists generally, which is because I remember going back to what you're saying, they sort of make you feel like you're going crazy. I thought that I was the one being a narcissist. And so I started to go, shit, is there things am I manipulating things? Am I, and you really do a lot of self-reflection. And I remember the one thing the therapist said to me was, if you even think you're a narcissist, there's no way, because you wouldn't have the self-reflection or the honesty to even be aware to change things. And there's definitely things in my earlier years where I didn't like about myself, but I've worked on those. So, I felt like for whatever reason I would not lie. It is lying. I would white lie to fabricate things so it made me seem more interesting, or it made other people not feel so bad. So it was like I thought I was protecting other people, and then you sort of get, now I'm in my early 70s. I really, really have worked on, okay, even if it hurts someone, the truth without any sort of sugarcoating is the best way to do it, especially coming out of what I didn't know at the time was a narcissistic abusive relationship. And I think when people think of abuse, they think of, you're getting, it's physical and stuff, but it's mind games, it's a lot of other things. And, you really are made to feel crazy at times. And I thought I was going crazy, and I was doing things I never would do.
Because we play into... because you and I are massive empaths, and that's something that narcissists do look for, people that have an empathic nature, right?
And you want to believe you're good in them.
Yep, exactly the same. So I think it also plays into the fact, teacher training, you have to do all this training about the developmental years to 18-year-olds, and you go through with the neglect and abuse training, you learn about how neglect and abuse forms a child's brain from the early years. And because you have to renew that kind of training, I can't remember what the increments of time is, but you have to renew it. And it's really hard to do that, I find, because every time you go through the abuse and neglect training, I'm just sitting there crying like, I just want to save these kids. I know what they could possibly turn into as adults. Like, it's just, and I think that's part of the narcissist empath relationships, is we believe and want to support and help the negative narrative that they have had throughout their lives that have brought them to where they are. So I think that's where empaths, or the supply for the narcissists, are so quick to go, but they reacted like that because of this. And then you are more willing to get further and further into the web, and then you think, hang on, would I have believed that before I knew that? Like, you lose a sense of reality a little bit.
I definitely, in my last relationship, and I won't go into too much detail out of respect for that person, but I cheated at the early beginnings of our relationship, and it's something I'd never done before. And so throughout that, I was really held to... I blamed myself constantly every day. I hated myself. But also I was like, no, they have the option to walk away from this too once I told the truth. And I don't even know why I did it. I can't explain why I did it, and I don't like that I did it, but it's something I own up to. I would never do it again. But it happened. But then I was sort of made to feel accountable for every action, and I felt like I deserved whatever it was. I deserved being screamed at. I deserved being controlled. I deserved those things. And even now, like I'm nearly a year out of that situation, and I really hope for them that they are in the best, whatever. And it's probably the same as you, and they probably don't think about me or whatever, and that's fine. And I still care about that person. I probably always will.
Yeah. See, you are sounding exactly like me. I'm always going to love and care
totally.
for the in particular, my last relationship. I only want the absolute best. Whenever I think of that person, I'm always sending them love, peace, joy, wanting the absolute best for them. My
mum said something and she was like, forgive and remember. And I don't think that's a horrible thing to say. It's like, I completely forgive. I wouldn't say I'm at peace because I have a lot of things that I still have nightmares. I go through all these things, the anxiety's through the roof. But, it's something at least I can work on, and I've never been happier being alone. No, I'm going to say single, not alone, because I have so many beautiful people or new people that have come into my life that you really know are genuine and care, because you've now got control of your narrative to rewrite those chapters. And going back to what Mum said, forgive and remember, it was like, okay, yeah, I can completely forgive and stuff, but I can't forget in terms of that will never happen. I will never let that happen to me, or I'll never let that happen to anyone around me as much as I can possibly. And that whole thing of, we talked about earlier, I think getting better or better.
Yes.
And it's really simple, but I think you really do have a choice. And often I think the people that have gone through the most, I know you and I probably both gravitate to the most, because that there's an element where they want to lift people up and they want to make people feel joy. And I realised, I think in the last year, that's my purpose.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but like literally my purpose and what gets me off, and it's not sexual, what gets me off in life is giving other people joy.
Yes, I'm the same.
And, people roll their eyes, especially because, we do musicals and cabarets and stuff and go, it's a theatre people, But it's like, no, like it literally gives you like, I get like a high from it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm the same. I feel really good if
you do. I see that.
Oh,
the
that's
people
nice.
around you, or even myself, our little friendship that sparked in the last, week?
Yeah.
I just feel joy and completely genuine around you. So it's like, and I feel like because we've gone through similar things, and I think if anyone's gone through those situations that's listening out there, you're very aware and you gravitate to those people.
Yes.
But you also have to be careful. And I noticed I've done this since I've been here even. There was someone that I met and I was like, oh, no, red flag. And in the past I'd run to red flags because I'm like, oh, that red's so pretty. I can put sequins on it and I can wave with it, I can make it into a show. But I was like, no, like even if I'm really attracted to this person emotionally, spiritually, sexually, whatever, it's a block gone.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about trauma, Jay, because trauma can really affect people in a lot of different ways. I know through physical and sexual trauma that I have had in my life, I definitely found it a lot more difficult to keep my weight under control, because I used to be a size 6 dancer, like all that kind of stuff, but I was very silly with how skinny I was, right? But then once a few circumstances happened with physical and sexual abuse, I then found that I'd put on weight like that, and I feel like it's the body trying to protect itself.
And I think there's a real difference between feeling sexy and wanting to be sexy, but it still doesn't give you a ticket to touch.
Correct.
Thing. And it's the same with, the R word. I think people think, and this conversation has been had for years and it still needs to be had, if someone goes out and is wearing a miniskirt, it is not an invitation to touch or otherwise do anything in advance to that person.
Yeah.
And I say person because I mean any
Correct.
gender, whatever. If a man wants to go out and, like chapless jeans and a tank top, it doesn't mean that he should be mauled by a bunch of girls or men as well.
Correct.
But it's still going on.
Oh, yeah. So when I was 28, 29 years old, my family on my mum's side was helping me move out of the house that I was in. Must have been 29. And I don't know how my uncle and I got onto this topic, but he literally said to me, the only time a woman wears a miniskirt is so that there's easy access at the club. I was like, no. And I felt
even if that
disgusting.
were true, right? That's still that person's choice.
Yeah.
To allow you that access.
Yes, yeah. Not an assumption.
So, if you don't mind, I'll give you a quick story. So, a couple of years ago in New Zealand, we were doing a gig. It was in the forest. It was amazing. I was in... What was I wearing? I think I was actually meant to be playing... I was Bunny Fufu. So, it was like Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah.
So, I'm like a, pageant child, like, hey, beauty queen. I'm supposed to be like an 8-year-old. I did this big number, and then the skirt would rip off, and my mum happened to be under the skirt. The kind of like in Rouge, but she wasn't giving me, kind of like if you go to the show.
Yes.
If you haven't, I didn't say that. But the dress comes off, the mum comes out, and I was like, Mum, I'm going to win the show. Anyway, this man... plastered, because it was the most incredible. Like, they had all these tables in the forest. We were singing on a ship, like a shipwreck. Comes up, shoves his fingers through the back of my tights. So I'm wearing 2 pairs of tights, 2 pairs of fishnets and tights. Rips through them. I'm not wearing underwear because I have to do a quick change into something else. So the tights and the bodysuit, I guess, are ripped through the fabric to the point where then was bleeding. Then stood on my toe, ripped my toenail off. I'm still having to perform. And then, someone sort of notices there's blood running down my neck. And then this man just like, the insecurity pulls him away and all that. And it wasn't until afterwards I sort of went, oh my God, it's quite funny. Because at the time you're on an adrenaline high. And I think often that you don't feel any sort of pain. My toe was a bit sore because I had bloody open-toed heels on, which was my first mistake.
Oh, shit.
But... I just thought, what the hell? And that's in a performance
horrendous
situation.
Yeah.
God forbid if I was like a woman in a club.
That's disgusting.
So what does he do outside of that realm that isn't at a work function?
Wow, that's fucked up, Jay. That's fucked up.
And I remember talking to the producers. They were like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm okay. It's just... Why does that even happen?
Yeah.
What gives someone the right or the invitation to even
And why
do that?
wasn't anybody quick enough to remove that person?
Look, this was probably close to 9 years ago now. So I'm going to just say I don't think things like that were an issue or they were funny.
Oh, Jesus.
Especially when you're in country towns. And I'm not dissing country towns. I love them. They're actually the best places I love to perform. But this was what I would call a country town in New Zealand, which we did a lot of events. But you still get the majority. And again, I'm going to preface this with ear things. I'm not trying to put the blame onto straight white men. But
why not?
It was that situation where it was like every time something was going wrong, those were the people that thought they had the right or the privilege to do something that was...
Fuck, that's disgusting.
Yeah, and I was like, if I was one of the girls and I saw it happening to one of the girls, I just would have like grabbed him.
Yeah.
But no one did anything to help me, and I don't pity me for this because I think I was a boy and I'm like quite, I've got really muscly legs and I'm strong. Like I'm not sort of scared of things.
Yeah, but you were fucking bleeding.
Yeah, but it was like that just happened, it's an incident. That happened. It was one of those things like 1, 2, 3,
yes,
oh shit,
okay.
turn. And, Dee's upstage going, oh my God, you're bleeding, you need to go stage. And also, they're still doing a whole number. It's gone into this whole Backstreet Boys number where I have to then go back on stage, take off my wig, put on my baggy pants, like, everybody, So you have to keep going because you can't stop a show.
No. Because somebody assaulted you. Yeah, why not?
Well, you just don't. And that's the thing, you just don't.
Yeah, because we are trained to the show will go on.
Yeah.
But that's fucked up,
segue.
Jay. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it is. And I think now that would just never happen. Or if it did, someone would act straight away.
Yes.
I don't know why suddenly. Every time I talk about something traumatic, I think it's a safety guard.
Yes.
Like probably what we're talking about, like with the weight stuff.
Yes, very much so.
And similar to you, probably I've gone up and down like a yo-yo in the last few years. I think in my early 20s, I lost a lot of weight because I had to. And then it was like, okay, if I suddenly lost weight and then I got every gig. I was in the States, doing cruise ship, all that stuff. And the minute you put on like a half size or whatever, I mean, this is back in the days too on cruise ships, like they were like checking our weight. Like, you need to be, I think I had to be between 28 and a 30 waist, which is tiny.
Why?
Because that's what the costumes were. And then every guy looked, and that's the thing, it's like everyone looked the same. I think it's changing slowly.
Yeah.
Like we've just had the first POC Christines in Turn of the Opera, that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Similar, but I still think that actually size in the industry is, dare I say, I think it's probably still the heaviest thing that exists because people still discriminate and go, yeah, but we'd rather have the skinny... than the da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But I've always been like at my probably most natural way. I'm too chubby to play the handsome lead, but I'm not fat enough to play the chubby sidekick. It's so weird. And then you get some companies or producers who are willing to go, oh no, we want you for your talent.
Yeah.
And in recent years it's happened because they're like, oh no, actually, you've got a great voice or whatever.
Oh, yes.
And that's cool. And I wish that happened more because I'm like, if you put this in the real world, not everyone looks like a Ken doll.
No.
And also half the time those boys that look beautiful, or the girls, they have the most plain voices or talents, or they're cookie cutters. That's my cigarette lighting up.
And that was the show with you.
What is the biggest lesson you have learned about yourself through your relationships?
Jesus.
Wow, it's a really good question. I want to say that what's the word? Like nothing can stop me. Mm-hmm. It's like in the
Resilience?
face. Resilience, that's the one. Mm-hmm. I am one of the most resilient people I know. And that might sound pretentious, whatever. No. And everyone around me, even my dad, probably out of everyone, he's just like, I don't know why life has tested you so much.
Yeah, it's pretty shit.
But you just keep going. And when you think you can't keep going, you go again. And when you can't think life's going to get worse, it gets worse and you go again. And I think that's probably been true. In the last 5 years, probably for me, it's probably been the hardest. Mm-hmm. It's been like one. Okay, keep going. Cool. Next. Okay, shit, here's another one. And that's kind of what my last show was about. And it's not a pity party. Like I always joke, I don't want your sympathy, I just want your money.
Yes. Of course.
But it's just deflection. That's just humour. I want to use humour because I want to make people feel good, but also that's a real healing tool for me.
Yes.
And I think you'll find a lot of people like yourself that have gone through things because it's cliche, but like laughter really is the best medicine.
Yeah, it's good.
But it's not. It's also a Band-Aid.
Yeah, and I've really had to teach myself to. Like, I think I've always been good at moving. Good at moving through the emotions because I want to move through to a good place. But I've really had to really train myself not to distract myself too much because I get into this, okay, that's happened. That shit, that's not the way I wanted it to go. But let's refocus on the things that you can control and the things that you can do, and let's just go for it. And then sometimes I go, oh shit, I'm actually not dealing with the emotion
you haven't
here.
grieved it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to refocus and step aside of the emotions so that I can survive.
So I found when I left my last situation, I had just started a new job, right? I was like, I'm going to go out and do the real world. Anyway, so I got a job at a hair salon, which I just thought, it's the gay thing to do. Like, it was something I wasn't, my sister was like, oh yeah, you'll be so good at that because you're like, Anyway, so I did that. And then I was only 3 weeks in and that situation happened. So then I left and I said, hey, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to need 2 weeks off. This has happened. And they were like, oh my God, no, take the time off. When I went to go back on day one, then they fired me through an email. And I was like, you said you were okay with this happening and you're being supportive and understood. And that was more gutting than the situation I'd gone through, because I knew I could come back and at least I had a job. I had something to hold on to.
That's horrific.
That was the punch in the guts.
Yeah.
And then I remember the next week I found out my mum had cancer and it was just like, fuck. It was like another one.
Oh,
but it's so
Jay.
weird. Yeah, but here's the thing. As shit as that sounds, and again, don't mean sympathy. It's just like you go... And you think you can't go on. I remember calling my therapist at the time and she was like, okay, I want to send you a referral. I want you to put you on meds. And I was like, I'm not depressed. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot. Yes. And I think I'm doing pretty well.
Yes.
But also I don't want your meds because I don't want a Band-Aid on healing. I feel like it's going to slow my process.
Correct.
But what I did do is then just through luck, a woman that had hired me to do some gigs and stuff, she was like, I've got another job, which I now am doing 10 months later still. I've been traveling around Australia doing this art installation and it's like changed my life in a sense because, and I've said to her, Monique, that she's kind of saved me in a way.
Yeah.
And I threw myself, I was doing 60-hour weeks and then but once that 3 months was up, then I was like, okay, no, I have to deal with this.
Yes.
Because I was still going through and doing things that I was doing in that relationship that I didn't want to do. There were substances I was using that I didn't want to be using. Mm-hmm. And then now it's just completely stopped because... it had no joy, it had no purpose, but at the time it was numbing or it was healing or whatever. It wasn't healing, that's a lie. Mm-hmm. At the time or whatever, and I'm not even a big drinker or anything anyway. So it was like, why are you doing this to yourself? And it's making your anxiety and everything worse. Yeah. So then I faced it, went into the next contract, and you still have moments where and you're probably the same, you slip up, and I say slip up not in the sense of like going back to things you didn't want to do or whatever, but you have it's the mind games with yourself or the punishment of yourself or the anxiety or the whatever.
Oh my God,
it doesn't stop.
And no, it doesn't. If only I did this, if only I said this then, if
daily.
Yeah. If only
And I've been really lucky. Our workmate, she went through a lot of similar situations and was a full-on addict. So, and I never really had that problem. It was just that I was using to numb pain. And so she was amazing and just sort of being there every day. She was like, hi, Angel, how you going today? And we'd send each other stupid songs, like, Jackie, or release me, whatever it was.
Yes,
it was like, okay, what's your joyful song today? Or like,
that's nice.
And on angry days, it was like, take another little piece of my heart. It was like, just use, and music, and same thing, we're probably very similar. And music is a real therapy.
It
but
is.
I'm not one to sit in those songs. It's like, I'm not going to listen to the whole of 21 or 25 by Adele and be like, hello from the outside. Because it's just, it's I'm sorry, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
They're great albums, but you're just putting yourself in this dwindling... No, I shouldn't say it's pathetic. Every emotion is valid. And maybe I am more resilient or stronger than other people, but I think it's probably because, like I think you'll find, again, going back, a lot of people that have been through things are the ones that are the strongest because you have to be. But you have a choice. You do have a choice. And TikTok... I see so much stuff on TikTok at the moment that is all, oh my God, they're gaslighting me, they're narcissists, they're this. I'm like, you don't even, like...
Yeah.
And it's really, it makes me angry though. It doesn't make me sad. It doesn't trigger me. Mm-hmm. And I've never felt anger until after the situation. And it's not anger in like I want to punish someone. It's like, it's frustration anger. It's like... Mm-hmm. These kids now using these terms like gaslighting or narcissism or narcissist or this or...
on things that are not...
And then they're like, I'm like, you don't get to call the police on a DV situation or claim someone's abusing you because Sharon stole your man and, or she told a lie and it was on Facebook. Like, it's... But this is what's happening, I mean, it's a situation at the moment on TikTok where... And I got so angry. I was like, I want to just write this whole paragraph or make a video. I'm like... But I'm like, no, because you don't have the right to know X amount about me. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about whatever I want on this, but it's controlled enough, But also then it's... my point is, I was just like, shut up. Like, these aren't even... You're making false claims, which also are on the internet, which puts you in a really vulnerable and dangerous situation. And then either side of whatever you're talking about.
Yeah. And then it makes it harder for people that are actually experiencing things. to come forward, you know, like it just...
It's interesting though, because I remember I used Facebook once as a call out. I didn't know what else to do. My phone wasn't working and I felt like I was in a really dangerous situation, which I won't go into. But anyone that's Facebook friends with me will remember that situation. But post that, my Facebook kept getting hacked a lot and people could just keep leaking the address of where I am, asking for help, and it wasn't me. So I remember one morning I was asleep and my sister goes, "What's wrong? What's happened this time?" I was like, "Nothing, I'm asleep." And it was again some address, and I was like, "I'm not even in that town asking for help." So I'm not going to claim who that was or wasn't, but it's like, that's why I think people get really scared to ask for help sometimes, because then there are situations where you know, especially with social media, you can get hacked, things happen, they may or may not be you. It's so weird, eh?
It's fun.
And I think your brain goes to the worst place in those situations, because safety is like your safety.
Safety is your safety. We should put that on the t-shirt. Safety is your safety.
Safety. Unless it's a safety pin and then it hurts.
So you're safe. Fuck yeah, we should put that on the t-shirt. Safety is your safety.
It was going so well.
What's the best date you've been on, and what is the worst date you've been on, and why, Jay?
Honestly, the worst, I've had too many. Even in recent times, I've had some. So I probably can't talk about... I wouldn't say it's the worst, but one of the situations. All I'll say, just in case this person's listening, is I ended up sleeping with someone who happened to be on Australia's Most Wanted list. And they don't know that I know. I haven't let them know that I know. It was just like... And it was honestly like the best sex. So it was one of those weird situations that post-breakup, I was like, yeah, let's get out there. And they were like, great. But it was just such a weird situation.
That's bizarre.
And they don't know. And they're still, you know, they haven't been found or whatever. But it's not my job to... Also, I just don't want the drama.
Yes.
You know, I just really don't. I want to be like, hey, did you want to catch up again? And I'm just going to have the place waiting for you. No. And plus, if you're listening, we have to do lots of training with singing and education. I feel like the police should have to go through training every few years, because I feel like often, in my situation, I was really lucky. They were amazing to me. But they were so cold.
Yeah.
And I just felt, if there was a bit of warmth, I would have just felt slightly safer. I will say the male officer was a lot nicer than the female, and I don't know if that was a thing. It was just the people I got on that day, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's another thing that's a whole other thing to talk about.
Look, I agree with that. There were, the other night, I think it was...
just training and people or government situations that are there to help people.
Yeah.
Ambulance, everything. Sometimes I'm like, this is why you get people in psychosis that are too scared to even call an ambulance, because I don't know if they actually feel safe.
Yeah, correct.
And I'm not disrespect. I have huge respect for paramedics, policemen, firemen, anyone that can come and save your life in any situation. It's just the training is, I feel like, if you're a teacher, you know, or you get your working with children's license and you've got to update it every, is it 2 or 5 years? I think it's 5 now.
I can't remember.
You know, why doesn't that apply to government jobs as well?
Yep.
Wow, sidetracked.
Yeah. No, I agree. There was a scenario that happened just last weekend during Fringe. So when this airs, it'll be a while ago now. And
84 years.
And myself and one of my mates were walking down Rundle Mall, and there was 4 white police officers with 1 brown person, of which we both knew, and we tried to stop to see if they were okay, and the police...
Sorry, you knew the person of colour that wasn't a police officer?
Correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure whether you meant that person was also a police officer.
No. Sorry, I'm glad you clarified.
Let's paint that picture
for the
out
listener.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is on Rundle Street.
Yeah.
And we stopped to check if he was okay. And the police officers were like, "Get the fuck out of here! Keep fucking moving!" Like they were screaming at us when we were just like, "Are you doing okay? Are you all right?" They were fucking disgusting.
And just out of curiosity, was that person just maybe drunk?
No.
Or walking home? Or just
No, he was having
nothing?
a normal conversation with them.
It's so gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay, and it's one of those things that I feel like, even though I'm Māori, and we say, that whole thing of, you put milk into cream. No.
Milk into
Milk
cream?
into coffee, it's still coffee, I think I'm very privileged to be very white passing. I say privileged in a really way.
Correct.
Because I know that there are lots of things or people assume about me, and that's fine, I don't care. But, I still want to at least try and have a voice. I feel like it's because of that privilege, my responsibility to speak up for things. But it's also with the, going, you want to, but at the same time, when you do, it's fired back. Like that.
I was like, oh my God, what?
So it's what do you do?
What?
Like, I had a similar situation on Rundle Street the other night. I was walking home, and this is, a Saturday night, keeping in mind Fringe is going on. There's, I don't know how many people in the city now. It's insane.
Yeah.
But there was and he was doing the right thing. This person, I'll just say person, was trying to fight this other person. And the other person had their camera out because they were filming it and just went live on Facebook. And I was like, absolutely the right thing to do, because at least it's live and it's recorded.
Yeah.
And then, but the other person whacked his phone, another thing. And everyone, there was 200, I'm not shitting you, 200 people around him. And there's a police car outside and the police station's across the road. I ran over to the police station, so did this other lovely man. And we were like, this guy's trying to beat the shit out of this other guy. And no one's doing anything. But I also understand why. They were terrified. I mean, this guy was like 6'5" and not little. And he was, his arms were swinging for days. And he was clearly inebriated in some form.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things. And you're just like, I can't help. So the police station's right there. So I ran my 200 metres and got my steps in. And and the police were like, oh, yeah, we can see it on the thing. He's in the red T-shirt, right? And I was like, yeah, so can you go do something?
What are you doing?
Because there's this poor guy with and the girlfriend screaming like, please stop. And then they finally went down really slowly. He just walked down and was like, oh, yeah, I'll try and sort it out.
Oh, for God's sake. That's their job.
I know. And Rundle Street Police or Hindley Street, whatever it is, if you're listening, thanks for coming out, but do better.
Do better, Jesus.
Well, if it's your job to protect and defend, and you're aware of it,
get out there and do your job.
So why are you still sitting behind the thing until two of us come running down the road because everyone else is too scared to help to then do something? And is that whole thing of it goes back to maybe the whole narcissistic thing or abusive relationships or any of that stuff. People get scared to ask for help because they don't even know if it's there.
Yeah. Or the people that are supposed to be doing it will give a fuck and actually do anything. What is the best piece of love advice you've gotten?
Never go to bed on an argument, which I didn't have a choice. All my relationships. I feel like everyone I've dated, bar one person who I'm still friends with, still have a lot of love for that person. And maybe because they were a musician as well. They were really... We just had a beautiful relationship. It just ended because we grew apart and we were just different people by that last couple of years or whatever. Don't go to bed on an argument. And we never did. But with every other relationship, I feel like I've been with someone who's not instigator,
protagonist.
Protagonist. Yeah. I'm just not an arguer. I'm not a fighter.
No, I'm not either.
I've learned to have a backbone, especially I think being in the arts and the industry, you have to. You're going to get pulled down so many times.
Especially independent artists that are doing the whole thing. Yeah, you have to.
But it's like, I really feel like that came into place. And that's something that I learned from my parents. Like, even if they have a disagreement or, he's being a duckhead, they'll never go to bed on an argument. Ever.
Yes.
And I always wanted to do that. So I tried to put that in my last relationship. I was like, I'm not going to sleep until we at least have some resolution to feel comfortable to go to sleep. And they wanted the complete opposite. They wanted to wake up and be mad and all that. And it was
be combative and keep the argument going.
Which is exhausting because you start to realise why when I came out was I so tired for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Your body, your mind, it's an amazing thing. But it also can get completely, just... It's like anything. It just gets... It wears out.
Yeah,
Jeans
it
last
does.
so long, no matter how tough they are.
Yeah, correct. Oh, hello. Hi. Good metaphor.
And you wear those jeans until they rip in the crutch. And then everyone
and then
sees
it's
your
dead.
undies.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know what the point of that is.
I think now I'm so very quick to alleviate combative, defensive, argumentative people that project all their motherfucking stuff on you.
Exhausting.
It is fucking exhausting, and it's like, well, I'm just going to be silent because no matter what I say, it's just going like, yeah, I just can't do it.
Do you find you apologise a lot? Yeah. So even like last night I had a conversation, it was my one day off, right? And someone else is busy. No, actually, this is someone else. And it was that person. We were going to go on a date, not us, this other person.
Oh, a date?
They'd asked me, no, like an actual date, like a heterosexual thing, like we actually meet up. But also he was like, hey, I've got the clap at the moment, so we need to just hang out. And I was like, okay. Anyway, but they weren't free, and one of their friends was in from out of town. So even if you're listening, hi. And that was fine. But then I sent a message last night saying, oh, such a shame we didn't get to meet when we both had the time off.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, bummer, but, friends over... new randoms. I was like, I'm so sorry if that came across rude. And I was like, my brain went to, I hope he doesn't think I'm trying to say, oh, wow, you had a day off and you didn't come and see me. Because but that's what you do now.
Yeah.
So then I go, and he goes, no, it wasn't rude at all. I totally get what you're saying. And I was like, cool. I was like, because I totally would have done the same thing. I would have picked my friend over a random date. So I actually have more respect for you for that, but also thank you for understanding that I wasn't being a dick.
Yeah, but I think when you let me start that sentence again. When you have experienced narcissistic relationships in the past, it is really hard to not second guess, not like always to double check that everything that has been said is not misconstrued in fear that someone may perceive it in the wrong way.
And make no mistake, if anyone's listening out there, it might sound like it's all bad. The problem is that some of it is actually incredible. There's so much love bombing and passion, and they are charming, and they're so generally really funny, beautiful people. That's the flip side is when... it's the Jekyll and Hyde thing. When Hyde... Is Hyde the evil one?
Yeah.
Not evil.
Oh,
I don't like that word.
Know.
Evil, I don't think anyone's
evil. I can't
evil.
remember. Jekyll or Hyde.
Jeffrey Dahmer, maybe, but...
Yeah, I think there are evil people.
Yeah, but, I wouldn't say a narcissist is evil. It's just they're covertly that way.
They're just wired that way.
But doesn't mean they don't have... I think it's just that they lack empathy, or they don't... They imitate it almost. Because when I would cry, and that was the first trigger, it was always... Why are you crying? And I was like, because I'm feeling something, or I'm sad, or I'm whatever. So then you cry more because it becomes a snowball. Because something you're told not to do, you do it more because your body reacts as a I guess a coping mechanism or a fear. Or in situations.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny. Oh my God, is that you or me?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's getting abstracted.
But you are spot on. I think for a narcissist, it's really hard for them to understand or empathise that somebody else may be having emotions.
Do you ever think, like, I would still... I don't know, this sounds weird. Cause
no, go on.
I still... one day would like to sit down in a safe, controlled environment with that person and just say, I'm sorry that I hurt you in the beginning with being, cheating on you. I owned up to that, and I hate myself for that, and I probably always will. But do you know what you did? And then at the same time,
But do you think they'll even hear that?
No, and, this is the thing. I think if you truly are a narcissist, you will never change. You can maybe that person wasn't. Maybe that person just has lots of narcissistic behaviours that have led them to be the way they are. And maybe there is a possibility. But at the same time, you go, well, if you can love someone and threaten to that point, that's not love.
No.
Even if you felt love or felt like that person loved you, love should never feel unsafe.
Correct.
You can be, I think, and I'm not trying to big myself up or make myself feel any better for cheating, because I hate that. Basically, I put that as like a label on myself now, which is horrible. You can do something once, and that's what you are, essentially. It goes away, but it's like it is a stamp, essentially. I have cheated, therefore I'm a cheater. Does it mean I'm going to do it again?
No.
But I did that. So I take accountability for that. Yeah, but it's not the point. It's not the point. It's I still did it. You know what I mean?
Wow. You're very hard on yourself.
Yes and no. I don't punish myself for it, but it's something like if I was in a relationship and they said, a new relationship, which is going to happen one day, and I'm going to be so fucking happy. But I also want to be thankful to the last person because of that relationship, I learned so much about myself. And also, again, my mum, how cool is it? She said, how cool is it that you now, and this made me cry one time, how cool is it that you now get to fall in love again and then write the next chapter?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, that's cool.
Good one, Mum.
So cool, though. Like,
I want to
she's
be
so
your mum's
right.
friend.
But she's right. She's like, I get to now fall in love again. I never thought I'd get that feeling again. And it's not butterflies in your stomach, because I think when you get the butterflies, there's actually warning signs. And that's the other thing I've learned. Butterflies, if you can be excited and nervous, like if you go into an audition, but I think butterflies when your stomach's churning, I think is actually your body warning you.
Yeah.
And that can be lust, that can be passion. I do not think that is feeling safe or love, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you.
I'm not a psychologist.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with that.
But I'm excited to... And even when I have gone on dates, I try and just come and I'm like, be myself as completely unfiltered as I possibly can, because I know I'm a 0 to 100 person.
So am I.
I'm either completely passionate or I feel nothing.
Yep.
But the next person who gets to love me is so fortunate, because I know that about myself. Like, I will love them hard and deep. But also with gentleness and kindness, because I know that that's what I have inside me.
Yes.
Or them, whatever. But those things are kind of magical. And the same thing. You get to fall in love again. Like, how cool is that?
I'm terrified of that.
But if you don't, who cares?
Yeah.
I'm kind of at that point. I'm closer to 40 than I am 20. I look 21 if you're watching. But,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want it to happen, but I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to have to fall in love.
Yeah.
Or that is my worth. I'm only worthy if someone loves me.
Yeah, well, look, yeah, that's a whole nother
Coming
thing.
up next.
That's a whole nother thing. I'm still unpacking that generationally from my nonnas, my grandmothers, my mum, to I'm still unpacking the worth connected to, because I've never been married. I've been engaged twice, never been married. I do not have children.
I'm all those things, yeah. None of them. I haven't been engaged. I have nothing.
So if we go back to, I don't know about Maori culture, but if we go back, because I'm only second generation here, all my grandparents were born in Italy and Croatia, and then it's France and Italy in the next generation above.
Everyone would be married, wouldn't they? Married in families.
Pardon?
That history, everyone would have been married in families.
Yeah. Like, I'm
maybe even
late
divorce
30s. Oh, shit, yeah. I'm in my late 30s, and if I was still a part of my mum's family, I know for sure I'd be hearing from my nonna about...
Why you have no familia? Why you have no...
Yeah. It's a real, there's no photos of me around her house because... The only photos of people, well, I haven't been there in years, but last time I was there, the only photos of me and my cousins when we're adults is our wedding photos or photos with us with our kids. And my nonna would be like, well, when you get married, that's when I'll put your photo up. Okay, fuck me.
Have you also heard of you kind of inherit the trauma of your grandparents?
No, tell me about that.
So it was, look, I don't know the actual, I want to look at it more, but someone was saying often your trauma comes through in the form of your grandparents, not to every grandchild, but when I look at what my nana went through. So the reason I don't have a lot of connection to the Māori side of my family is because my granddad was, and he was abusive, and essentially, and I won't go into too much detail because it's not out of respect to my dad's family, but I mean, he was violent to my nana for years until she finally left with 8 children.
Oh, mamma mia.
You know, that's a strong ass woman. And she recently passed 2 months ago. Oh. And to get to 92, to gone through a DV interracial relationship in the 50s and 60s, to come out, she's so fucking beautiful, so incredible, so brave. And but someone was saying how like often you inherit the sort of traits of your grandparents, and I'm like, shit, I'm actually a lot more like my nana than I ever realised. She's so creative, she's so powerful. She never let anyone see her sadness. She always gave people joy. Like, you turn up at her house and she'd be in a costume. She's like, hello, Nola's not here today. This is Cassandra, you know. And she'd, you know, she'd have this song Dance in My Pants playing but on 45 instead of 90. So it's like, I can't dance in my pants, I can't dance in my pants. And she'd be having that, or she'd have Kate Bush, she'd have all the things blowing and literally running through with fabric, you know, Wuthering Heights and all that. And then we'd have smoker lollies, and she couldn't cook for shit, but she put flowers on everything. And I am that person. I don't know if I want to live to 90 and be crazy, but you know,
I don't want to be anything like mine.
But when you think about it, you can become a lot like your grandparents without really knowing. You have a bond with them you don't even unaware of. I grew up with her, so yeah. But like, I didn't even think about the fact. So I spoke to my nana about my last relationship because she had dementia, so I knew she'd forget, which sounds awful, but I was like, it was the only person I felt safe with talking about it. And she always called me the wrong name, which was ironically the name of my ex, but that's because it's my cousin's name.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just really interesting to think that she went through a lot of the same shit that I went through, and she survived. She was a badass.
Yeah.
She had a great life, and she ended up staying alone and being so happy with fucking, I think it's like 50 grandkids or something.
Oh,
we had.
Jesus. I'm really looking forward. Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to having grandkids because I think I'd be a hilarious nonna.
You would.
Yeah. I think I would.
I think you'd do the costumes and everything. See, I really want to be a dad, but I don't know if that ship sailed for me. But that's a whole other podcast.
That is a whole other. I think you need to come back because it's a whole
for
other
listeners
thing.
out there, we're going to do a show eventually.
Yes.
So I'm so sorry for the 7-hour musical that it's going to have to be
and
like
a 40-piece orchestra. Yeah.
It has to be like the Harry Potter thing where you come back the next night, or like Angels in America. It's like 3 hours and you come back.
Yeah. People would be.
We'll have no voice because maybe we just do it once a week.
Yeah. And we'll just be laughing half the goddamn time.
It'll be called trauma.
I think
you know how Americans say trauma? Oh my God, I went through some trauma and the trauma was really distressing. Because they can't say trauma?
Trauma.
It's trauma because it rhymes with drama and comma. I'm talking shit.
I think...
My coffee's just hit.
Oh, has it?
Oh. Anyone out there that's listening that was going to date me? No, you don't. You didn't hear this podcast.
On that lovely sentiment, what would you like to leave me with? Parting words of wisdom.
My infected earring. Parting words of wisdom. Oh my gosh. Wow. This is the one time you got me speechless. That and the time that I was in New York and I met this.
Stop making me snort, man.
I was going to say you're at Fringe. It's only normal, but I don't know what from my own experiences or just. I really, really, really believe in kindness above everything else.
Perfect.
Like, it just, no matter what happens in life, even if it's shit and you don't want to be the bigger person, just do it.
Yep.
Sometimes, I do want to throw my hands in the air and be vindictive and things. I just won't do it.
No.
I don't.
It's too much energy wasted, I feel like.
And in the end, and I know it sounds cheesy, and it's on all these, it's really marketed as a queer thing too, love wins. Mm-hmm. But I really think that goes back to kindness because it's not. Love is different forms of kindness, really, to me.
Yes.
If you love someone, you'll be kind to them. But yeah, kindness and just, I don't know. Yeah, kindness.
Just
be kind.
Just be kind.
It doesn't mean you don't have to be a bitch sometimes, or you don't have to,
And you can't stand up for yourself and be assertive.
And being a bitch or a a-hole, whatever, doesn't mean you're being assertive. They're very different things.
Yes, that's correct. Kindness. Thank you, Jay, so much for coming on the podcast today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
The Catchalorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Catchalorette. next time if you dare.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.